Hey, welcome to Sportdev. Yours truly. We have our man Mike back in the building. Mike, how far?
A day as usual. I'm at your
Welcome back.
service.
Welcome back. Nah, well, at your service. At your service. Welcome back. Oh, before
Thank
I
you.
jump into this, please go buy your Arewa Baobab fruit powder from arewabaobab.com, packed with vitamin C and antioxidants. You don't want to miss this. It's probably the most nutritious substance on the planet. arewabaobab.com. Get your baobab fruit powder. And baobab is spelled Baobab. All right, man. What's going on?
Not much, bro. You know how it is now. Maintaining in this country, trying to make ends meet as always, and then just paying attention to all the goings ons in the life of Gennard Raw and the Super Eagles.
No, we'll get into Gennaro Raw. He's crazy ass man. But
Uh,
before we do, dude? What's going on? What's going on with John Gruden, man?
yes. So
That's crazy,
interestingly,
isn't it?
since we want to talk about that to start,
Yeah,
Gruden just here's my take on this.
yeah,
It is what it
yeah.
is. What they always say is what you do in the dark comes
Comes
out
out
in
the
the
light.
light.
This
Right. So
came out. This
it
came
is
out
what it is.
like like came out like the Nile River, man.
Yeah. So I don't know where people stand on their feelings about whether it's cancel culture and all that. That's almost irrelevant to me. What I
Hmm.
find interesting is the fact that when this news broke on, I believe it was Friday,
Yeah.
about the racist email that he has sent. And if people aren't aware, he made a very, very racist reference to the head of the NFLPA, Players Association, Demore Smith.
Morris
He made a
Smith. Yeah.
reference about his lips, which is in America, talking about a black man's big lips is really as demeaning as it gets in terms
Yeah,
of
it's playing
racial,
to racial stereotypes
right,
from
racial
back in the day. You know the
stereotypes
whole
and really
black
demeaning.
face thing, and yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Now there was small some outcry. But it really was like as if it was okay. Sure, it was a racist email. Okay, he's apologized. Let's sweep this under the rug.
Hmm.
But the moment it got revealed that he made some homophobic references to, I guess the commission, and immediately that's when it seems to me, not to say that and I know it's really a basic connection. You're just saying it's connecting A to B, when in reality it's probably you'll say it's the straw that broke the camel's back. But to me, I find it interesting that Gruden was going to keep his job from all indications over the racist email, but
Hmm.
it took finding out that he made some homophobic and misogynistic two references. So I guess when you say the holy trinity of of uh, of
Of who you could possibly offend.
right, the holy
Yeah.
trinity of views, and so I guess one would say, the owner of the Raiders almost had no choice than to fire him. Although of course they're telling us that he quit, but we all know that it was a firing.
The whole quit thing. The whole quit thing was just to try and help him save face.
Yeah,
So
save
like
face. But yeah, that was just
help. Actually, it was meant to help them save face because they don't want to be seen firing a coach who took them to a beautiful start of the season. You know, from a football perspective, they were undefeated. I think
no,
they
no.
lost.
Actually, no, that's not the case. Actually, they were 3-2. So
Yeah, 3-2.
obviously
At one
they
point, they were 3-0, right?
they started out 3-0, but of
Mm-hmm.
course one could, or it's what it was. The
Yeah.
nitpick about who they beat and what they beat, but no, they had a good result in the first week of the season against Baltimore Ravens, which is a tough team that just actually had a really good game last night on Monday night.
Yeah, they played their
But
tails off yesterday. I saw that
the
game.
thing is,
Yeah.
Gruden was given a 10-year contract, and quite frankly, in year four, it hasn't really warranted the fact that he has a 10-year contract. A 10-year contract is basically saying you have the keys to the entire franchise. You're not getting fired for at least 7 of those years because the payout would be tremendous. You can't be paying, it was given a 10-year, $100 million contract. So you can't be paying $40 million to somebody who's sitting, or $650 million to somebody who's not doing work. So
You know what's cool? Go ahead. Sorry.
in
Go ahead.
essence, him resigning, it really was a firing. But it was a fire because him resigning means the Raiders don't have to pay. The Raiders, if they had fired him, this probably would have ended up being something that went to court. It would have been litigious. But Gruden was in a no-win situation. The Raiders were maybe in a bit of a, I wouldn't say a no-win, but I think if you ask most Raider fans, they're not so sad that Gruden is no longer their coach. Let's just put it like that. There's almost like a relief, like, oh, finally we got rid of this guy. Keyshawn Johnson, who hosts a Monday night an ESPN radio show and used to be his former player in Tampa Bay. He came up with some strong words this morning. He said he always considered Gruden to be a fraud. He won a Super Bowl with the guy, so who knows?
Yeah, a lot of guys like that know better because they. What's crazy about situations like is in real time though, when you're affiliated with the organization and you're playing for the guy, you really can't say anything, right? And because sometimes the criticism people levy against you is when you come out and say these things, they'll say, "Oh, well, how come you didn't say anything then?" Well, if you know anything about football, locker rooms, you dare not say anything at that point. So it's kind of that environment that he's been allowed to thrive in. And look, this stuff here, people who knew him and worked with him all knew he was like this. Make no mistake about it. All his boys, like he's point out any of his really close people, they cannot deny that they didn't know he was like this. Who was he sending emails
to? So that's what I was about to allude to. So
you know what I mean?
You know how everything got found out, right? So the Washington football team has been under investigation. They had a scandal maybe about 2-3 years ago with abuse, harassment, and cheerleaders complaining of sexual harassment and all kinds of other things. So because they got investigated, the FBI got involved. Once FBI is involved, you see everything is turned over to them.
You're screwed. Once the
we had a connection issue there.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, once the FBI gets involved, you're totally screwed.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But anyways, man, that's that. So in a way, it's a good thing. But I don't think we've heard the end of this, because if they leak these emails systematically, so one would even argue somebody was out to get John Gruden, because they first leaked the racist emails, and then everybody had the uproar, and it was dying down. And then they leaked the other series of emails also. So,
Dude, yeah, man, we'll have to watch this space to see how things go. But before we even I know about talked about Raw, and let's talk about my new favorite super ego, Chidera Ejuke.
Ejuke.
Yo, that boy.
Huh? Ejuke.
He's a beast,
and see,
man.
You can't talk about Ejuke without talking about Raw. In fact, it angers me because for the longest, over a year since the boy has been dazzling, even before he transferred to CSKA in Moscow. Where was he playing?
Yeah.
He was playing in Holland, right?
Look, before he went to Holland, I'm sitting now thinking, how was this guy playing for Gombe United?
Raw, this is what today I'm going to talk about this. This guy, Gernot Raw, is too rigid for the Super Eagles style of play for us. For what we are as Nigerian football. Honestly speaking, I've always sat here and espoused his professionalism of how he's brought order and calm to camp. But that level is past now. We need to play our football. And we're not under this. We can't. You can't give what you don't have. It's not in his DNA to play good football. It's not. It's not. So, Chidera Ejuke.
Hey, look, let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. When you watch certain people in certain sports, you could just say, you know what? This particular player is a problem. I don't care. Listen, I'll tell you what. I don't care who Nigeria plays. I don't care whether it's give me a germ. I don't care who they play. This kid is going to give them problems. And if you have him and you have a healthy Chukwueze and you have, although Raw was benching him though, he came off the bench.
So no, okay, I won't even complain about the benching because I cannot understand why he brought him off the bench in this game. Although that's a whole nother conversation altogether.
Yeah.
The reason Ejuke even got on the field in the first place ever was because in the last series of matches when the English government decided that they will not allow players to go play in certain countries. When we had to play against Cape Verde, and Cape Verde was on that.
All our
and
players.
So now we had about 6 English-based players that couldn't make the second match after we finished playing Liberia in Lagos. Yeah. Now Roy had no choice but to now fill them. And you remember, I think if you remember, I was giving you play-by-play commentary in that match. In that match, Ejike was the man of the match again. Now, having said all that, I need to emphasize that he has a lot of work to do still. But again, when you see raw talent, you know it. It doesn't take a genius to see that this kid has raw talent. But I fear that this is the kind of player that Raw doesn't know how to handle, doesn't know how to use. He was going to waste on the bench. Yeah, when he invited him is for his first friendly match, he gave that boy less than 10 minutes of time to play. Again, I think it was against Algeria or Tunisia last year. And in those few minutes, even then you could see the Tunisian defenders, they were so surprised. Both Algeria, 10 minutes, which is a freaking complaint we have of Gernot Roy. He'll invite new players and not play them.
Here's my thing, right? You watch him and you're like, I don't care what team you play. His pace, his control of the ball is a problem. It's just a problem. He has that explosive, like super explosive pace.
And he's coming in old now. He just won the USA Player of the Month for the last month that just ended. So it's not like he's just a flash in the pan or one-hit wonder. He's been doing this stuff for a minute. He played in Europe.
I looked up his career, right? So and I think I know the agent that took him out of Nigeria. Because just looking through his profile, I could tell he was with Gombe United. Then he goes to Vålerenga in Norway. There's one major guy that takes players out of Nigeria to Vålerenga, right? He's like a mixed Nigerian agent based in Norway. Then he leaves Vålerenga and he goes to Heerenveen in Holland. And all through all these places, he has crazy amount of appearances, double-digit goals. Or if he doesn't score up, he has 9 goals. I think he had 9 with Vålerenga. And now he's with CSK Moscow and he's killing it. So he's been consistent in 3 different countries, right? Top Premiership League in 3 different countries, in Holland, and now he's in Russia. So you have to understand that we qualify for the World Cup. This guy's going to England. Or May.
England or Spain, because
Spain. I think Spain would be fantastic. Spain would be fantastic for him. But one of the two. But he's not CSK after next year's World Cup.
If Roy even plays him. So that's what we're talking about, man. These are sort of instead. Guess who plays ahead of a guy like Ejike, who's I think when we played against Benin and Lesotho, he was on the standby list. Imagine, while guys like Ahmed Musa, who didn't have a club, were playing. So it's one thing for you. I know we've talked about this Musa situation, and it's one thing for you to say, okay, the other factors ahead. But granted, even if there are other factors, when you have this guy, why is he on the bench sitting down getting 10 minutes in friendly matches? What does that got? Musa is playing. Roy will keep inviting Samuel Kalu, who has not been fit for almost a year and a half, pretty much. Too rigid. The other thing we're talking, and I know we're talking about, but this conversation is going to morph into it's all about Raw at this point. Too rigid. Another thing too is we've been calling for this change in formation to let us play. Why are we playing 2 defensive mids against a team like Central African Republic inside of Lagos? Why? What do we need to? Aribo is there. He's having him sit back. That's not what Aribo plays when he's in Scotland. And I think it was Aribo and I want to say Innocent Bonkeo, whoever the other defensive mid he had when we played against Central African Republic in Lagos. Release the boys against these minnows. Release them. Let them play. Let the boys play. Let them build confidence. The play of the Super Eagles is so disjointed. There's no pattern of play. So after 5 years in charge, I think it's high time we ask the question: what is it that you what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And no one understands it. Of course, this particular series of matches, one can always say, okay, we were without Wilfred and Didi, who, if Wilfred doesn't play for his Premier League side in Leicester, you see how they collapse.
You see the difference.
Yeah. So you can't deny his prowess. Now everybody that talks bad about Alex Iwobi, I hope they're opening their eyes to see how important Iwobi is to the national team setup. Because without that guy to link up the play between the defensive mids and the forwards with those neat, simple passes. One thing I love about Iwobi's game, it's simple but direct. It's
very direct.
Neat passes, and the passes are crisp. They get to the strikers where the strikers want them, or with an opportunity to open up the defense with simple 1-2s, even against packed defenses. I wouldn't say Iwobi is a world beater by any stretch of the imagination, but in the colors of Super Eagles, quite frankly, he's produced. When you look at the Super Eagles goals, Iwobi is always in the middle of it, either the initiator or the one that gives the assist. And quite frankly, he even scores for Nigeria, which is kind of amazing. We need to end this Ahmed Musa experiment. That needs to be stopped. It needs to be over with. He's gotten his 100 caps. We want to say thank you, sir, Ranka Dede, and move on from Ahmed Musa because he offers absolutely nothing to the Super Eagles. Having said that, he tried in this match against
they said Ahmed Musa was 28. The commentator said he was 28. I almost fell out my chair.
Yeah, I didn't even listen.
I said, what?
Even the commentator himself, him holding back his laughter when he was saying that. And
I'm like, come on, man. There's no way. But he's done his thing. He's come through when he could. You're right, though. There are guys on the bench that are better than him now, and you can't continue to play him. It's just a matter of time. I think even Rod knows that. Right now, I think what happened was they were just trying to help him get over the hump of 100 appearances. And I think he has 101 now.
100 appearances. So what? Now what? So we give him house now. That's what we give him.
Which is crazy because if you notice, Ahmed Musa is not at a level where he could play at the highest level anymore. Like his ability he's not. Clearly, he couldn't. Where did he go? Was it Qatar or UAE? Where was
he? It was the first of all, I was in Saudi Arabia before.
He went to Saudi Arabia and he didn't stay there. You see what I'm saying? So when you look at it, it's like, dude, you couldn't stay in Saudi.
Nah. So what happened was that. So if we want to break down his time in Saudi, he was much heralded when he came to Saudi Arabia. They were so excited to get him. Like the captain of Nigeria, Musa, he scored those
World Cup cap. They just played the World Cup. Yeah.
They brought out the red carpet for Ahmed Musa from the time he landed at the airport. If you see the reception he received, it's like as if they landed Messi or Ronaldo. Okay, no wala. What was his output? Nothing. His output return was just minimal. Only a couple of assists. I don't even know if he scored goals. Maybe he won it. But the numbers were abysmal for 2 seasons. It wasn't just 1 season. He played there for a season and a half. Last year, he asked for his release in order for him to go find a club in Europe. Because I think it started dawning on him that playing in Saudi Arabia is not going to cut it. Because this was still when Granite Raw was still sticking to the whole you must play for a top team, in the top league for you to play, when he was still doing that. So supposedly he was supposed to be signed by was it West Brom that was supposed to sign him? Or somebody in England was supposed to sign him. And it was imminent. It was Big Sam Allardyce. And the deal fell through. So no one really knows what happened. Looks like Sam Allardyce tried to make it seem like, honestly, I don't know. I think everybody.
There was a time Ahmed Musa went to England.
He was in Leicester now.
Leicester, but it didn't work out. I think he scored like maybe a handful. They didn't like him too much.
Maybe 1 goal at the most, 2. But after a while, he was never on the Premier League roster, and he was playing in the FA Cups or all the little Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, Cups. They weren't too high on him, and I think that might have to do with his football brain. Clearly, the reason why they signed him was because of his pace. Because in England, they like a lot of pace. So they signed him saying, okay, this guy could create damage on the wings. But Ahmed is a poor crosser, man. He doesn't cross the ball.
So Ahmed Musa is a victim of
He's a
this.
forward. Yeah.
He's really a center forward. That's what.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at when he's played, had the best returns when he played in Russia, right? And when he played for
Yeah,
Kano Pillar, or when he
CSK,
played for
Moscow.
VVV Venlo.
Mm-hmm.
Eh? If you want to go back and watch those highlights with Venlo, granted it was a Dutch league and he was much younger then. But that boy up the middle was a menace. And his finishing,
Pace, man.
Ahmed Musa has very good finishing in front of goal. If he doesn't have to think. If Ahmed doesn't have to think, he just has to play. Deadly finisher. And I mean, that goes without saying. You see his 4 World Cup goals, they're all world-class goals. None of them goals are like tap-ins or okay. They're all goals that, when you look at that guy, you say, this guy's a world-class player. But that's the problem, is all the coaches starting from whoever started, I think it was even Keshi and Siasi and all them, they made him a winger because in Nigeria, unfortunately for him, we always had an ace striker. And so where are you going to put him?
He's not going to start over Igalo or any of those guys.
Emenike, Igalo.
It wasn't going to happen. Yeah.
Now, I mean, but so really, in reality, we've been playing the guy in a position that's not to his strength. And then the formation of 4-3-3, okay, it's not necessarily a winger now because he's an inverted winger, but he doesn't make good decisions.
Yeah.
He doesn't make good decisions in the final third. How many times, if you look at that match against South Africa in the AFCON, man, how many times did Musa just destroy his man because we were just eating up the fullbacks, and then the final ball, nowhere to be found.
Yeah. Yeah, but at least he's gotten 100 caps, so maybe he'll, kind of fade away into the sunset. But I tell you what, they need to manage how they use Osimhen though. Like in that game, after they scored the second goal, like at some point in the second half, I was like, when he started missing some goals that typically he would score, I was watching the game and I'm like, okay, they need to take him out. Like he's done his thing. You're 2 goals up. I'm sure there are people you could bring off the bench that could close this game out. You don't need to put him through this anymore. You see what I'm saying? Like, but Raw left him in till the end of the game, and I'm watching, saying this guy he's murdering it. Like at Napoli, he's a beast out this world. Why are you even leaving him in? There's no point. Take him out. Bring someone else. Let him relax, rest. Go back to his club. You have more games to play, and then you have the second qualifying series that you have to worry about. You want to make sure you have as many healthy. If the game is closed, it's closed. There's no point trying to. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's closed. It's done with. All right, cool. Bring Onuachu in at that point. It's 2-0.
No, no. Please don't say that. Bring at that point.
He's on the bench.
Okay. Well, bring
He's hitting up a roster spot, so they have to play him at some point.
Yeah. Okay. Look,
but unless they take him off, they just take him off the roster totally.
They can't. You can't take him off the roster because he produces in the club level. It'll just be.
Yeah.
He might even bring the score to the team, so I can understand why. But really, at the end of the day, when you look at the playing style of Mr. Paul Onuachu, it doesn't fit the style of the Super Eagles.
Super Eagles, yeah.
At least the style that we know. But if you let's be analytic here, right? If you watch him in his club in Belgium, there's I don't remember the names of the guys, but one of them is a Japanese guy. That guy's so good on the wings. He plays for Paul. He lives to serve Paul. He will dribble down the wing, and deliver sumptuous crosses. Then they have another winger on the left side. I think the guy is like either one of those Congolese Belgians, the names are just escaping. I want to say Bongan, but I don't know. I don't think it's Bonganda. But that guy is a little more selfish, but still at the end of the day, he has a very nice connection with but from the right side in particular, man, that's exactly where the love comes with Paul. They play for him. They send him crosses. He's deadly in front of the net, but most of his goals, if you see them, I mean, it's not unheard of for a striker to be scoring. Most of his goals are inside the 6-yard box or from crosses and deadly finishes.
He doesn't score a lot of aerial goals, does he? Doesn't score with his head.
He's been scoring some this year. So I watched him some last year, not as much, but I really, really watched him a lot more this year. Paul Onuachu, one of his strengths is in close quarter inside the box. He has nimble feet. Right? He has nimble feet inside the box. When the ball's on his feet, he can create his own shot. That's actually pretty good inside the box. But in Super Eagles, our forward needs to be involved in the play. One thing you see about Osimhen, you see him come back when the
a lot of energy and
he
pace.
comes back, gets involved in the play, drags defenders out. He can also come on the wing and deliver crosses to whoever's inside the box. That tells you immediately Osimhen needs to be playing with a second striker.
Didn't they play him in this game at one point with Henacho?
Well, so they eventually played the 3-5-2, yes. So because the Roar finally listened to the 3-5-2 formation, and he played that formation. So great, good for him. Good clap for Raw. He finally listened to us. Maybe it was out of necessity. A lot of the things that he does is out of necessity. I don't think he's so stubborn and rigid, man. He's stubborn and rigid, and his style it's not a style of football that we as Nigerian football play.
How old is Raw now? Raw got to be close, like
he's
65.
At least 68 or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He's close to 70. I know that.
He's an older guy, and it is what it is. I'm not gonna be an idiot. Yeah, but definitely he's stuck in his ways. But some people have argued that this guy came from Niger Republic, Burkina Faso, Gabon. Those are the level of coaching jobs he had before. And then Nigeria may just be a much higher profile job for him than. But
he understands. He understands the talent level he's working with. This may be his best opportunity to go the farthest, right? He gets it. I mean, Raw hadn't coached in the World Cup until he got this team, right? Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Coach ended up going to the World Cup, and almost made it to the second round.
And I think it's because of the deficiency that we didn't make it to the second round. If not for him being tactically deficient, the Super Eagles should have been in the second round.
Yeah, they just had to close out that game against Argentina. That's all.
And we didn't close it out because of a lack of input from the bench, quite frankly. And honestly, I said this on the day that match against Argentina was a fireable offense. And we've been paying for that indecision not to fire him since then.
But let me ask you this: who would you bring in?
But therein lies.
Let's talk about the solution, right? So let's say tomorrow, next week, NFF fires Roar. What then?
Well,
who do you bring in? Let me put it like this: who do you shortlist? So if you were to shortlist,
before I answer that question, it's too late. It's too late. It's too late already. When the time when we shortlisted people and done all those things was right after the World Cup, even after AFCON. What's his name from the former Zambian coach? Would have been one that might have been interested in taking over Nigeria at that point. Harvey Renard.
Coach Morocco.
That's somebody that probably would have,
because he was a former coach at Morocco, right?
He was coaching Morocco. He coached them to the World Cup. Now he's either the coach of Qatar or some country over there like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's the first name I'll mention. And let me say why it's a little too late. A couple of reasons why it's even too late to even start considering, because that indecision has cost us. One, all of a sudden the pandemic has hit. Right? Prior to the pandemic or prior to the end of that World Cup, the NFF was actually doing a good job. They were actually professional. They were paying their coaches on time. The bonuses the players were getting paid. Right? You never heard any of this bonus roles that nowadays. All those things were in place. So the Super Eagles' job at that time was at the highest in terms of its juiciness to any potential coaches. I'll tell you right now, no good coach is going to want to coach Nigeria right now. Because I as much as I'm criticizing Gernot Rohr, I have to say this, that he's being owed money.
Yeah.
There's always talk of, they're going to settle him this, and then next story will come out, it's 4 months of settlement. What worker will work without getting paid his wages?
but you know what they did, and kudos to Amaju Pinnick, by the way. They did get some pretty sizable sponsorship deals done.
Oh boy, you act very like you don't know Nigeria. That sponsorship deals, what's that got to do with paying the coach? That sponsorship deal is kudos to Amaju Pinnick, because now he's going to eat. We talked about this in a previous podcast. Basically, those sponsorship deals are money-eating avenues for these guys. So when you see them landed, you would expect that it should help the Super Eagles. But I can almost be
that's the expectation, right? Okay, you have additional revenue now from sponsorship. Um, hey, so now you have more money to do certain things. Make sure your coaches are paid.
well,
Try to.
they have more money to do certain things. Making sure the coaches are paid typically isn't one of them. That's been the case. They were being owed money since the end of AFCON in 2019.
Yeah,
Come on now. Raw pays his assistant coaches from his pocket.
that's crazy, man. Who's his
Why?
assistant? Does he have another German coach as his assistant, or?
I don't even know. I just see some guy on the bench. Don't know what he's doing. I'm sure he's doing something good. And then the NFF enforced Yobo on them. You know.
Oh, your boy's an assistant coach as well.
Yeah, that's his sister coach. Yobo that has no coaching certificate. Nothing. Raw was surprised if I didn't know anything about this. So they just placed Yobo on there. What input is Yobo really giving in that team? Nothing.
And that, my brother, might be the the main frustration of actually trying to coach this team. Can you imagine the amount of people that probably interfere with his coaching duties on a daily basis? The amount of people that come with suggestions, the people making phone calls in there when there's
Yeah,
a
but
game,
I get
the
that. But
distractions.
on game day, they can do all the suggestions you want. But on game day, you're in charge. That doesn't mean that you keep a guy like Ejuke
On
from
the
playing
bench. Yeah.
until you had no choice but to play him. It almost like begrudgingly played him. Ejuke
Yeah.
started the match against Central African Republic in Lagos, so I kind of understood what his rationale probably was. Like, oh, let's bring him in when the Central African Republic are
I'm
tired,
tired.
and you can dribble through them. That actually, I don't have no qualms at him not starting, but that's fine. But I'm through with Gennett Raw. I understand that we can't fire him now
Yeah.
because we have an AFCON coming up. It'll just throw the whole team into disarray. So it probably isn't the best idea. But quite frankly, I don't have any real faith that Nigerian Super Eagles will win AFCON. Not really any real faith, no conviction. Can we win it? Well, Nigeria, of course we can win it. But even that match against Central African Republic, it was really down to individual brilliance. You could see it. There was really no real pattern of play still.
Yeah, but Balogun was possessed, man. He was like, "Nah, I'm gonna make up for that slip," and
And
he
that's
pushed
good.
forward.
So
Yeah,
yeah, that's a good. It's good to see. It's good to see that from our players. But really, at the end of the day, man, we didn't come through. We didn't play well. Even that's like really. Let me ask you a question. Hmm?
yeah.
This is Africa. Who should we be comparing ourselves to? The Algerians, the Senegals. Really,
Morocco.
that's it, right? And Morocco's of Africa. If not, then
Yeah,
what are we playing? What are we playing for? If Morocco was playing that match in Cameroon on that finally nice, it's not even the greatest pitch in the world, but that pitch looks like Wembley compared to the one that we played on in Lagos. If Morocco was playing that match against Central African Republic and Central African Republic packed 12 men behind the ball, how many goals do you think Morocco would have hammered on Central African Republic in that match?
they'd have found a way. I saw their highlight against goodness, who they play? Guinea. I saw their highlight against Guinea, and they just decimated them. I mean, and
Guinea
yeah,
good.
yeah. They
I mean,
made. I
they
was
have
watching that game, and after like the second goal, they scored, and Guinea scored. Then they scored again. The way they were just,
toying
and I
with
think,
them.
yeah, I think what they were doing was the way they were countering them. You could just tell like these Guinean players were going forward, and you could see the difference in levels. Let me put it that way. One team was clearly well coached, clearly well trained, knew exactly what they were doing on that field, what they wanted to do, what kind of runs they wanted to make, and the other team was just out there. The Guinea goal, the guy took a shot. One of these crazy shots African players take where they're like almost near the center of the field.
Off the ball.
He took a shot. He took a deflection.
Mm-hmm.
The keeper would have saved it. Took a deflection, goes in. That's how they scored. So I
Yeah, the
think,
goalkeeper is the starter for Sevilla, and
yeah.
La Liga.
And another thing
Sevilla,
about Morocco and Algeria, here's another thing that most people don't talk about. A lot of these guys were born and raised in European countries, like in Belgium or in France.
It's not
And
today they started doing that now.
no, not
They
today.
started doing that.
So people like Algeria, they're almost the entire team, born and
French.
raised in France. Yeah, they're French. So it's you're playing guys who've come up in the French system, trained, developed in a very good football system.
And on top
All
of
this,
that, these guys that France was fighting to get to.
hmm
It's not like these are all rejects. Some of these guys
No,
are
Riyad
guys that
Mahrez,
wanted.
Riyad
Benson
Mahrez.
Benny.
Yeah,
Yeah, these are not all scrubs. These aren't
no,
rejects
no,
from
no.
France.
If Riyad Mahrez wanted to, he'll be on the French national team starting tomorrow if he wanted to. So these are solid guys, and they're now playing, and when they play an African team that isn't ready, it's so clear. Like I saw the Algeria highlights against Niger.
Oh,
Oh
come
my
on.
god. It was like 4-0. Look,
And,
I was watching the game and I was just shaking my head like, and I see your point from the last I was watching the highlight like, man, I hope Mike isn't watching this. He's just going to buttress his point about some teams not even, because Niger had no business on that field.
but the funny thing about Niger, yeah, and you say Niger had no business on that field and blah blah blah. Niger has a couple of players that are actual pros. Some that play in France. I know a couple of them actually. One of the main striker I think plays in France. What's his name? One of the lower teams, obviously, but he's a solid
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
A couple of them too. Or Division Two. Do you know the highest level of the Central African Republic? Their player,
Right. Right.
the one that scored the goal against us, he's in 4th division in France. That's the highest level that they have on their team in terms of European. The Kondobia is their best player, but he quit the team saying the organization was bad. He said he's not playing no more. So Jeffrey Kondobia, in France, but in Spain. But other than that, Central African Republic, their best player is. So honestly, there's no excuse, my brother. There's no excuse.
No, there
Zero
isn't. There
excuse.
isn't. We should have. I'll tell you what I thought was the difference when I saw Morocco, and I was thinking about us. I was like, these guys are a team. Like, there's a purpose behind how they play. You see what I'm saying? Like, you could see it. But here's the weird thing. Here's what I'll tell you that I think is strange. They look like superstars against Guinea. We play Central African Republic, and we actually lose one of the games, right? But I guarantee you this: if Morocco plays us, you're gonna see a totally different Super Eagles team.
I do
That's the
agree,
that's the thing
but
about Nigerian teams.
we can
If
only
we
say
play,
that so much. We can only say that so much because based on what we're seeing right now,
mm-hmm.
if it came down to say we have to, so the other, I think I said this to you on the message. The part of that loss to Central African Republic is more than just denting our pride. It lowers our. Right now, we're 5th in Africa. I hope you know that. That's our ranking in Africa. We're number 5. So we're teetering. We are on the brink of dropping below 5th. Once we drop below 5th, guess who we'll be playing? Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, Senegal. Okay, can we beat those teams? Of course we can beat those teams. Do we want to play those teams?
No, you don't want to do that to yourself before just qualify before a World Cup. You don't want to do that. The rigors of it alone, you don't want to do that.
Not again. I keep saying not that we can't win, and I agree with you. When we play those teams, we tend to. But really, we say that. But let's be honest with ourselves. We played those teams most recently, and we haven't come up victorious. Any of those teams. Just let's go back to it.
In AFCON, who did we play for third place match? You might say it doesn't mean anything. Didn't we play Morocco?
We played Tunisia in the third place.
Tunisia, and we beat them. Yeah,
we never. But we lost the match that mattered against Algeria. When we came up against the top teams, our first opportunity.
But here's the thing. That match was close. It was a close game, closely fought. I wasn't even too mad at Super Eagles at the end of that game because that was just an amazing free kick by a world-class player. You put Riyad Mahrez.
So if you want to be honest with yourself, when you watch that match, we were never in the ascendancy. We're never on the ascendancy.
Yeah, we could have done more. No question about it. I thought
Our goal was almost lucky. We took a shot, one of those crazy African shots, and it deflected. It hit somebody's hand, and we got a penalty. And we
penalty, and then he got.
so
Wasn't
you
he got buried it, right?
You
Yeah.
create your own luck. But
But no, I mean, I thought given the game was close. It was close. I thought
let's look at that match. Man.
It was a fantastic free kick. So they went ahead and got.
I'm not arguing with the free kick, but at the end of the day, we lost. Whether we can say this, that, or if, ands, or buts, we lost.
Yeah, we lost the game. Now, so
what was our best weapon going into that match? If you analyze the previous match, it was Samuel Chukwueze.
And Igalo had the highest. I think I got the golden boot for that tournament.
So both those guys, it was shut down completely. Chukwueze was just rendered irrelevant by their left back. He had him in his back pocket. Igalo was doing absolutely nothing. He scored from a penalty. Do you remember any other thing he did in that match? Absolutely nothing. Musa started, of course. One wouldn't even argue. Musa was just -1 again in that match. But guess what? On the right side of on the left side of our defense, we were getting terrorized. Mahrez, the Unas came in later. Those guys were terrorizing us.
Yeah, I'll say to you, they created more chances in the game.
They deserve to win that match. If we had won that match, it would have been grit and Nigerian know-how. We don't even have that. So we lost that match 2-1. I'll give credit that we won that match again. But see, a lot of people then were even calling, and I was one of them, put Osimhen in the game. You see, the same thing. We've been calling for Victor Osimhen. You know they've been calling for Victor Osimhen for the longest. Raw wouldn't play him. It's the same thing we talking about, man. Guys that we know can make a difference. The coach refuses to play them and sticks with Igalo, who's slow and ponderous. He scored 5 goals, or is it 4 or 5? I give him a ton of credit. I'm not going to poo-poo any of his 5 goals he scored in AFCON. But in that match against Algeria, we needed a different alternative, someone that was going to terrorize and threaten that Algerian backline. They were comfortable the whole match.
They were. We didn't create too many chances, but it makes you wonder: does he actually look at games and think, okay, based on how these guys are set up, who their center backs are, I'm going to switch up our attack instead of this guy starting them. You just see the same. He just rolls out the same. You know what I mean?
Scared. He coaches scared. Scared. That's not the Nigerian way. We attack. We'll give up a goal or 2, but we know we're going to score 3 in Africa. Yeah. And we have guys like, and that time Ndidi, that was one of the things I still complain about Ndidi at that point. He fouled around the box unnecessarily too much. And his foul that led to that free kick, he did not have to foul either. If you look at that match, you know, the guy that if you look at our best performers were our defenders on the right side. Awaziem held his own. Amero tried, he tried that match. But Ndidi was basically.
I have nothing against Omero. But dude,
he's done.
We got to find some other center backs, man. Some guys that could come in and give real depth.
We have them. We have Akpoguma.
Yeah.
Besides playing,
we are bringing guys that have more pace. But with center backs sometimes it's tough because you need to get someone that knows what he's doing. Like you have to be able to know the defense, know how to set up, know how to play, have experience being coached well. Like center back, you have to be coached well. You just can't go out there and wing it.
And that's what Romero is doing, isn't it? He's just going out there and just winging it. In that match against the African Republic, I don't know if you noticed, he gave away a ball that almost led to a breakaway for them. That guy's just clumsy, man.
Yeah. Where does he play now?
Still plays with Leganes in Division 2 in Spain. So he's just not good. I mean, that's the level. But see, that's the problem. That's the other thing too, my brother. Our players are average or below average. That's just the thing. We have maybe 1 or 2 up and coming guys, right? But they're not there yet. Victor Osimhen, he's not there yet. He's up and coming. Now we discovered one in the UK. So hopefully Raw plays him. The other guys that we expected to take that next step, Alexi will be not really taking that next step. Samuel Kalu, that guy's not it. He's just not. He's not.
Ndidi might be the most consistent guy in terms of
Ndidi, yes, yeah. Ndidi. But see, Nigeria, it's not an Ndidi that we should be putting out there as the guy that's our best player.
Yeah,
that's exactly. It's like Brazil touting Casemiro as their best player.
Casemiro, yeah.
And even
You need
Casemiro, will give you a couple of goals. He scored against us. Casemiro scores goals, and he doesn't have goals in him. There's a reason why Manchester
every
United
now and then, once in a blue
doesn't
moon,
have goals in him. There's a reason now Manchester United hasn't come for him. His passing is slack. He's not just forget the defensive side. Watch his passing. His passing is slack. His touch on the ball is useless. It's like great and quick counterattacks, of course. Once the ball comes and he can deliver it, it's him and Iheanacho have a nice connection, it looks like, in Leicester on long balls. But his passing is slack. Very slack, too. I'm talking about 5-6 yard passes that would just go astray. The guy has to stretch for it. It's just slack.
Yeah, so you saying Mikel had way much better passing than he did.
Let's not compare Mikel to Ndidi. First of all, I got to understand that Mikel came up as an attacking midfielder. So he already has, he's a baller. He has ball sense, right? He knows how to shield the ball. He can dribble a little bit. Ndidi can't do any of that. That's why big teams haven't come for him. You haven't heard any bid put in that Leicester rejected. He's great for Leicester, don't get it twisted, but Leicester themselves, they're punching above their weight, right? They're punching above their weight. They're riding the hot streak of Jamie Vardy. And, but really, if you look at Leicester around them, it's really Ndidi and Jamie Vardy. Those are the two. And then Iheanacho every once in a while, even though the coach doesn't really play him either. But
you got some other guys in there, like you have Ricardo, you have what's that guy that plays for you have the guy that plays for Belgium. What's his name? Killerman.
Has played like crap this year because Real Madrid supposedly was coming for him. His head has been turned. He has been playing like crap this year.
He starts for Belgium. Yeah, he starts for Belgium.
Not doing jack in the Premier League this year. Then they only have like 1 or 2 wins at most. Why? And they've lost quite a bit and drawn a lot of games and lost actually a lot of losses. The goalkeeper, Michael, don't know what's going on with him, but he just can't pass the ball. Every time the ball's at his feet, he fumbles and then he gives it away, or it's just they're in shambles. So they're not really a top team. Like they had their chances, but they ended up where they ended up 2 years in a row after being in position to be in the Champions League, and they couldn't finish. There's a reason for that, man. It's a league is half a year. The results are not a lie. You know what I'm saying? Not a lie. What they say, water finds its level. So Ndidi, as much as we taught him, he's solid for the back line. He shields the back line really well. But even him, do we really need Ndidi against Central African Republic?
No, not really. No. The thing about that's what I'm saying. Like when you look at teams like that, and I just talk to some people and they bring that up as we didn't have this guy. I'm like, come on, against CAR, really? You don't need those guys. You should be able to put together a home based team that will beat them by 3-4 goals, because that's what they have. Their team is essentially, they don't. So it speaks to our lack of depth that we have. And they need to. I don't know. We'll see what happens, man. When is the next? Yeah. When are the next set of games?
In actually a month, November 11th, I believe, is around that date. So it's not the lack of depth. Yes, you're right about that, and quality. But really, the one position we're missing supremely is we don't have a creative midfielder. And when people think creative midfielder, they always think, somebody who's going to dribble to the guy like JJ Okocha. No, just something like he will be. Somebody that can unlock the defense with defense split and passes. In today's football, you don't need someone who's going to just slow down the game and dribble through everybody. That's most teams in football are not having that too much, but they have somebody who can hold on to the ball in times of pressure. When he has the ball, he's not going to lose it. He's not afraid to grab the game by the scruff of its neck. We don't have that kind of player, man. And
great touch, great control, great decision making. You know what I mean? Like he'll get the ball in the middle of the field, and it could be 2 touches, and he's released an amazing pass because someone is making a beautiful run, right? That kind of guy, yeah. And Iwobi is the best person we have to play that role, because you have to be cerebral as well. If you look at the guys who excel at that position, and I'll use one of my favorite guys ever, Juan Ramon Riquelme. It's a bad boy, man. A bad boy. It wasn't fast, wasn't big or strong, but once he gets that ball, yo, he was a problem.
For
Just
me, the
when he
best that ever
does,
played that position was actually two of them. Iniesta.
yeah, Iniesta was a
Iniesta.
problem too. Yeah,
Oh man,
Iniesta.
and then Xavi next to him. Ugh.
Yeah,
Those
yeah,
guys were
he,
maestro.
yeah.
Honestly
That's why.
speaking, Messi was Messi, but when those guys were there was when Messi could be Messi.
Blossomed. Yeah, football is a team sport. It's a team sport. People forget. I mean, he's doing what he does at PSG, but it's not the same.
He
That
ain't doing
that
it right now.
yeah, that window he had with those guys, you know, it's a good thing he ran with it because he's never gonna get that again. That's not,
No, but
and he's
besides, he's 34 anyway, so
yeah,
age.
that's not happening again. That was it for him. And let's be honest, any other players you put around him in that situation, he would not have been Messi. I can swear
Not
to
like
you.
not at that level. He's still. I
Not
mean,
at that level.
but that when the year
Yeah.
he scored like 70 goals, Jesus, that was
Yeah.
ridiculous. But Iniesta and Xavi were just running things. Those
Yeah.
guys were pure art form to watch. Just
They,
pure
they
art.
were they were good, man. I
Pure art.
mean, just
And
that's what I'm saying. It's just touch control. They release passes. You couldn't do anything with them.
but
Nothing.
part of the issue we have too, my brother, is that it doesn't help. So here's another one, and so we've been talking about Roar. That's one of the equations, and that was my rant for the day for Gennett Roar. My whole thing, if I were to conclude about Gennett Roar, is I've lost total confidence in him. I think he should have been fired a long time ago, but
Hmm.
he is what we have because NFF has managed to be so incompetent that now any good coach would not even want to come here. So even if you fire him, it'll be like going back to square one, and we just can't afford that. We're not going to win AFCON with this level of play. Let's just be honest with ourselves. But what's probably going to happen is we're not going to win AFCON. We're going to fire Gennett Roy because we didn't win AFCON. Maybe we get crashed out in the quarterfinals. We'll fire him, and then we're really just hurting ourselves some more. Having said that, we need to address the NFF and their complete stupidity and incompetence and corruption. And why are we playing matches at Teslim Balogun Stadium? Forget about the state of the pitch. The pitch is horrible. I think at this point, I don't even know if there's any pitch in Nigeria that is not horrible. The stadium is so small. The pitch is so small. Teams
Yeah,
can
that's a question.
park.
Yeah, that's a question. Why? Because
I
Lagos
know
State.
why, but I mean, let's. I'm talking about. I mean, come on now. This is my job. We already know the reason why. But now, Teslim Balogun Stadium does not help our style of play. When teams want to come park the bus, we just help them. We gave them a smaller pitch to park the bus on. Look, the moment I saw that pitch in Douala, I knew we were going to beat them because they can park the bus all they want, but there'll still be spaces on the field because it's a much wider pitch.
Yeah.
Plus we can actually pass the ball on the ground and it doesn't bubble up. It doesn't bubble.
That's the key part right there.
Like
That's the
guys
key
don't have
part,
to wait.
and
For the
that's what
ball.
and that's what and NFF needs to. Look, anyway, I'm not going to get started on because I'm not going to end. Yo, we need to do this again. 2 weeks.
One last thing I want to add is they're saying that Abuja Stadium has been
renovated.
Renovated. I think even the FIFA president, when he came to Nigeria a couple of months ago, he inspected it and he was lauding Buhari for supporting football. And I don't even think Buhari even knows when the matches are being played, all that kind of stuff. So, but anyway,
all that is just grandstanding, man. I don't pay attention to any of that stuff. It's look, that stadium is under the National Sports Commission, so the Ministry of Sport is responsible for that. That's the official national stadium. That's where they should play their games. It should be in pristine condition, right? But I want to go into it. Took for years. They were talking about how just the field on dude. The grass wasn't cut, man. Let me just leave it at that. And so you construct this sports facility, so the floor has drainage. Everything is constructed beautifully. But then you just go there and grasses are growing out where they're not supposed to grow. Things, what the hell? Give me a last time you heard about a game being played in National Stadium Abuja.
Probably 2009.
Yeah.
when they had the under 17
You said under
qualifier.
17. Yeah, yeah. That we
I
lost
think
to
so.
Switzerland in the finals, right? Yeah. I mean, they don't even play a game. They don't use it for anything. So you ask yourself, like, what the hell? At the very least, there's a second tier team in Abuja that plays in the Nigerian Professional League. You should have them. They should lease the stadium, and then they pay money to lease the stadium, and then they can maintain the grass. At least do that, because or let get Nasarawa United to, although they have their own stadium in Nasarawa, which is the point I make to people about when they start bringing up that crap about, oh, we didn't do well in the Olympics because we don't have facilities. I'm like, stop, stop, stop. There are 36 states in this country. Each state has a stadium with a rubber track, beautiful soccer pitches, a weight room. They have facilities. The problem is we don't have properly trained coaches. So the people teaching all these youngsters how to play sport don't know what they're doing, because the federations out there haven't set a standard for how all the coaches should get trained, and who's actually putting knowledge into the heads of these guys that we want to be able to do stuff. That's the problem. That's the real problem, because you find guys, oh, you went to this academy, you play professional sport, okay, you watch them, can't cross the ball and you're a winger. You watch, you can't take a free kick, or your shooting, your technique is just piss poor. You're like, what the hell? Like, you haven't been teaching them anything. That's the problem. That's the problem. I watch so many. Dude, you imagine the amount of videos I watch. This academy, that academy, this academy, and I'm watching. I'm like, what the hell? And I watch their practices. I'm like, what are you teaching? You're not teaching these kids anything. You're actually worse, because you're teaching them bad habits. So imagine, like, you're teaching a player bad habits, and then that player ends up in a real situation, and they start exhibiting the bad habits, and immediately they get written off.
They're gonna do what they learn.
They're gonna do what they learned. So, and they get written off immediately, saying this guy doesn't know what he's doing. But it's not the player's fault. He's been with a guy who claims to be a coach, but because your country hasn't set a standard for who's actually coaching, any vulcanizer could wake up tomorrow and say, "Hey, I'm going to coach that team," and there's nothing you can do about it. So that's the fundamental problem, man. I swear to you. And
Benita George is now coach of Aimba. I hope you're aware of that.
I saw that. Yeah, you sent me. You remember you sent me the article. No, it wasn't you. It was one of my friends, and I was like, if they give him the support, what's the name of that? Their general manager. He's been there for a century. What's his name?
No, it was. Well, I don't know the general manager, but I know the former coach Kadri Kana.
No, Kadri Khan. No, this guy is administration. He's been there forever.
Where else?
Forever. No, his name Aim something Aim. I forgot.
Oh, Chidos. Is it Chidos Anim?
I think so.
Something.
Yeah, with Aimba. He's been there from back when they won CAF Champions League.
Really?
He's not going anywhere.
I don't.
That guy.
Like turf pitch, man. I don't know why we play on turf in Nigeria. I know why. But...
Bro. It's let me just put it like this: country near the equator, tropical zone. Everything grows. The number one grass for sports like soccer is called Bermuda grass. It grows, if you see it in Florida. It's considered a weed because it grows so fast and doesn't require a lot of water. What do you think will happen if you put that grass anywhere in Nigeria? It would grow like crazy.
That thing would thrive now.
Yeah. So why are you buying turf? And here's the argument. I remember when this thing started. FIFA put a grade on the turf. FIFA grade 2, grade 3. All the turf FIFA graded back then. They installed it at so many different facilities, not just in Nigeria, around the world. A lot of them are being pulled out today, and they're putting in natural grass, and they're getting rid of them, including facilities in the United States. They ran this global scam, is what they did. They ran a global scam. They went, and when you want to really sell something, one of the first places they go to is Africa, because there's some clown over there that's like, oh man, I can use this one to package a contract. So you go there, you go to this guy, we can install this turf. Benefits, oh, you don't have to water it all the time. It's durable. You can use it 50 times a day. Nothing will happen. But what they don't talk about is, well, yeah, it also messes up the knees of your players. And by the way, After a while, we got to come pull it out because it start wearing out.
Yep.
They don't say any of that. They sell this crap to you. Then you now start playing your players on this stuff, and you start finding out knee, ankle injuries. When you can easily grow grass in a tropical climate that has no winter, zero winter. You know what I mean? It's the common sense that they threw out the window when it got sold that stuff was just beyond disturbing.
Well, you
Like,
know what it is now. Oh, we don't have to maintain this. Okay.
yeah,
And it'll be a contract. And so now it's like, okay, we can get this contract. And of course, they inflate the contract.
that's the key part right there, the contract. Mm-hmm. You get the contract, boom, it's meant to cost, I don't know, 250K. You're like, okay, it's going to cost 560.
1 million.
1 million. 1 million. There you go.
It's 1 million easily. You and I don't like round numbers, so it's
that's why. Listen, if someone goes to audit that stadium and says how much they used to build this grass, it'll shock you. Let me just put it like that.
But see, the auditing is another scam in itself. And in Nigeria, auditing is like, what's the point of auditing? Everyone will hear the news, will go and then nothing happens.
Nothing happens. Nothing happens. And then you sit down with a bunch of people and they rant and rant and rant and rant and rant. And the one question I always ask them, what are you going to do about it? Okay, now they did this. What are you going to do? Not a damn thing. That's right. You're not going to do a thing. Besides sit down here and just talk about how they screen you over. Might as well not even talk about it. It's crazy.
In my opinion, though, so I think to answer one of the questions you posed to me before we wrap this up, granted, I'm of the mind, I'm saying, look, we should have fired Roy a while ago, but that ship is sailed now. We have to roll with him. Maybe we'll fire him after AFCON if the results don't go our way. If by happenstance he finds a way to win AFCON. I almost feel like that's even bad luck for us if he wins AFCON, because he's not going to change his style, and he'll take that rigidity to the World Cup, and we'll get blown out, or who knows if we even qualify. But the next coach we need to get has to be some young guy. Westerhoff wasn't established when he came to Nigeria. I know it's a different era we're talking about. We need to get a young, up-and-coming guy. Obviously, someone that can be respected, but with ideas of modern day football, And really, at the end of the day, all that doesn't matter if we don't support him. If the NFF doesn't support him.
That's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. I'm actually worried about bringing in someone who's very enthusiastic, has the credentials, has been under the tutelage of, a Pep or one of these guys, has gone through the training needed, comes to a place like that. Listen, talent you have, I could take this to a whole nother level. And then it starts working there. And then they start with the bullshit, and person gets jaded. That is the worst thing that can happen. I would even prefer it if that kind of person gets hired by a private organization that's run very well. Your own private football academy has its own funding that could pay someone to come down. That would be a much better experience for that person, because they could scout, they could recruit, they could train, they could develop. That's better than Federation to frustrate the piss out of them. You and I know it, man. But it takes Roar is kind of like a good cocktail for us. He's been there. He's coaching Burkina Faso. He's been to all these African countries to coach. He understands the system. I'm sure when he was coming in, I don't want to speculate because I don't want to do that. But I'm sure.
We know now. We know.
Yeah, man. This guy, you're an African coach. You know the way. You know what I mean? So, it is what it is. But he was a perfect hire for that situation. Came in, did his thing, and
did his job.
You heard Olise wrote a book, but I don't know how to find it.
Dare to question or something like that. I don't know. I forget. But Olise is a fraud. He needs to shut up. He left us in a bad situation, and throughout his whole career, he's shown that all he does is and just argue and cause.
Like
right. He's lost credibility. But the truth of the matter is, one has to ask: if you haven't been paid for 8 months, 9 months, whatever, and you're still coming to work, what's going on, man? How are you eating? Somebody has to ask that question. How's that long ago eating?
Yeah.
So it starts to beg the question: something else may be going on behind the scene that one doesn't know. For somebody to just be gladly come and show them up to work without getting paid. That's all I'm saying.
No,
But I
no,
think
no.
also, like we talked about this with John Gruden when we started. Perhaps he
Yeah,
can't quit because if he quits and he's not getting paid, he wants them to fire him because they fire him, they have to still pay him his money. So,
but he ended up quitting though.
no, I'm talking about Gennett Raw.
Oh, gonna Raw. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Raw. I mean, Raw. If they fire him, his money's guaranteed. I'm pretty certain it is. Or he got a certain amount guaranteed. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think yeah. So he's Raw is fine. He's made good money over the last couple of years. So he just needs to. But yeah, man, I'm excited for Afcon and next round of qualifiers. Kind of want to see what group they'll put us in once we get past this stage. Um, should be interesting.
I'm not really, you know me and how I love my Super Eagles, but I'm at an all-time low in confidence. I don't think we're going to qualify for the World Cup.
Honestly,
I don't believe so. I don't think. I think, look, one is whatever. Two, it might even be a mistake. Three times is really a trend. And since AFCON, we've shown enough to show that the trend. Bad football, blowing a 4-0 lead against Sierra Leone, just lethargic football against all these minnows. Did we play well against Liberia when we beat them 2-0? Not really.
yeah.
Did we play well against Cape Verde? In fact, that match against Cape Verdeans actually played better than us for a better spell of the match. We got lucky. They scored a bizarre own goal. Bizarre
Yeah.
own goal. Both their
Yeah.
goals were wrapped to us. You know? Consistently make these errors in the back or somewhere on the field. Man, we're just not good enough, bro. At this point, let's just be honest. If you look at where we're strong, we don't support that strength. And even if you really want to be critical and look with a critical eye, Victor Osimhen hasn't really played well for us. Not really. He scored that goal. Okay, great. It was a good goal. You know, good striker's instinct. Look at the one he missed.
Yeah,
What did
he dribbled the keeper. That player was able to clear it out. And I was watching. I was like,
inexcusable.
why wasn't he a little bit more patient, or why didn't he use feints at that point? Like you watch guys that when they're in that situation, everything is in their hands. One feint, and they'll give him a clear goal. You
Let me
know?
ask you. Haaland, you think Haaland is missing that goal?
No way, no.
No, of course not. You think Mbappe? Well, of course. I mean, everyone is putting Victor Osimhen on this pedestal, including I'm always excited when he plays. You always hear me, but the truth is, the kid has a lot to work on, and all of a sudden, I'm starting to see some big headism in his game that I hadn't seen before. If you look at that match in the end when Ejuke finally came in, and granted, Ejuke should release the ball, but Ejuke is running. Usually, those Osimhen, I know, he's running along with him, but he was just standing there, not really running.
Yeah, I think he was tired, man. That's what I was saying. They should have taken him out. They should have taken him out, man.
Maybe he was
I was
tired.
watching the game. I was watching that game, and I saw what you saw with the run that he didn't make, and I was like, okay, it's time to switch him out because at that point he wasn't doing anything to warrant keeping him in the game.
Another guy who doesn't do jack for us when he plays is Kelechi Iheanacho.
Yeah,
he scored those 2 goals against Liberia, but let's be honest, that first goal he scored, that goalkeeper is a quack goalkeeper. The goalkeeper is probably a backyard goalkeeper somewhere. That goal, the first goal, the second goal was a classic. It was a beautiful goal.
But Iheanacho is interesting because when I watch him in Leicester, he brings his work. He brings his lunchbox. Like he works. He's running, doing everything.
Because coach doesn't play him. So every time he wants to play, he knows that I must give. But these guys come here, and I have to always temper my complaints with just understanding of the pitches suck. Yeah. The guys aren't getting paid their bonuses.
You're playing for your country, man. Come on now. I know it's a terrible, terrible, terrible situation, but listen, you're better off not showing up. I would actually say, you know what? Fine. I respect you more. Don't show up. Give a reason. You're injured, whatever. Have your team corroborate it. Have your team doctor do it. They'll do it. right? So you don't show up, stay in Europe. I'll respect you, but you show up, you come down here, and you put on that jersey. You need to play.
It
Forget
is, to me,
everything.
the man of that
Forget,
match.
forget. Yeah, yeah. That's always been my beef with them. If you knew there was an issue with payment, all right, you know what? I'm not going to the World Cup. People rave, rant, and be like, listen, I'm not. Why would I go? This guy's going to, if that's so important to you, but they go, they play 1 or 2 games, they wear the jersey, you're in front of the world now. Now you want to boycott games. Now you want to boycott games for lack of payment of bonuses.
I actually think that's what the Super Eagles players should do. I've been advocating for that. The guys should just say, "We're not playing until we get paid."
Don't show up. Don't listen. You guys need to get your act there. None of us are showing up. Have a
I
consensus.
actually think that's what they should do. I
Yes.
honestly, but I know it's probably not going to happen because not everyone's going to go with it. Those are
People are selfish, man. They'll say, "Oh well, if I do this, I could." But no, if you really want to make a stand, not the crap they do at the World Cup. To me, I just see that as, listen, you're just embarrassing your nation. I get it, and I don't agree with the federation, but at that point, you're just embarrassing your nation. You're distracting your team from what they should be focusing on. You know, talking about payment of bonuses. If you really cared, why don't you guys form a consensus, come together, and say, you know what, head of NFF, you want to go play you guys aren't paying us, fine, go play in the World Cup yourself. That will create a real storm at home. The public pressure will now be put on the federation to fix whatever issues there are. The president might even step in, and you're in a better position at that point. You go over, you're not going to have any BS. But this stuff they do, like this stuff with Ghana, remember that whole situation with Ghana? It was in Brazil World Cup, and then this one guy, Draman, they ended up giving him the cash, and he had a wad of cash. You saw that picture? He was showing a wad of cash like this. I think he was acting like he was on the phone with it. I'm sitting down and going, so it's not. So when you see that kind of stuff, it's not just the federation. It's also the mentality of these guys. Some of them, I'm not going to say all, because some of them look at it more like, some of them look at it more like, they're mercenaries and this is a come up opportunity. Anyway, I'm gonna stop, man. Good seeing you, brother. Thanks for coming out.
Indeed,
We'll do
man.
this
It's
again.
always a pleasure. So let's repeat it. So we have another
Yeah.
round of qualifiers coming. So probably after that we should sit down again and discuss it. Hopefully, I don't really expect much, but we'll see. My brother.
No, 100%.
Okay, those
Thank you, sir. See you later. Adios. Odabo.